in support of Professor Nuvunga. But like I said, leading discussions on how we can better defend ourselves when it comes to speaking out loudly, speaking out vocally on issues of human rights that affect us and the communities we live in, and in generally speaking out against injustice. How do we defend ourselves against the state and non-state actors that threaten us? So I'll open the floor for Professor Nuvunga to speak, and then I will introduce each panelist that will join us. Thank you, Professor Nuvunga. Over to you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Tisek, my sister. Good morning, everyone that are following this press briefing and solidarity space all over the world. For my fellow citizens, those who speak Portuguese, bom dia, espero que estejam bem. Boas-vindas a esta sessão de hoje. For the benefit of the global participants, and given the regional nature of this meeting, I will speak in English, confident that technology will help with the translation. I exited the main house. I met the people who helped me at home. They were all panicking, and they immediately told me that they found 2 bullets with my name there in the main door, ground floor, and they were worried. We immediately called the police. The police immediately came. I live 1 minute walking distance from the police station. So they came immediately, and they asked support from other departments of the police. They collected the bullets, and we had to go to the police station and then to the to Cernik. Cernik is the investigation police department, and all procedures were followed. Then we returned home. At home I have security cameras. We went through the images of the cameras. They clearly show 2 men, young men, walking from north to south towards the police station. This was around 5 a.m. in the morning, and images show them throwing these bullets, and then they started running. They started running towards the police station. One would expect these people to run opposite direction to the police station, because you run the risk of meeting the police as they circulate that time of the morning. This is what happened. The police is still investigating as to who are these individuals and why they would do such a thing. I would like to recall that 2 years ago, I suffered similar threats with an unknown person claiming to have installed a bomb in my house that would explode in 1 hour. The police came. As I've indicated, I live 1 minute from the police station. Police came, and there was no bomb. Police promised to investigate and find who those people were. Until today, we haven't had anything from that investigation. So this is what happened. As to why such a thing would happen. While Mozambique is going through challenging times with riots being stopped by the police almost weekly, and today police is stopping a demonstration from occurring next to my house, and I've been standing to protect the right for demonstration as a key pillar of a democratic society. And this has received critical comments from the authorities, being looked at as someone who is protecting those who agitate for demonstrations. So this is more the larger context within which this incident happened.
Thank you very much, Professor Nuvunga, for setting out the context in which this very worrying incident happened. As you've said, this is not the first time that you've been attacked. And as you said, it's likely because you have been quite vocal in criticizing government responses to the protests against the socio-economic conditions and high cost of living and issues of corruption in Mozambique. I will now call upon the chairperson of the Mozambique Human Rights Commission, Dr. Luis Bitone, to put forward his intervention on the case of Professor Nuvunga and attacks on human rights defenders more widely. Over to you, Dr. Bitone.
Muito bom dia a todos. Eu vou falar em português, vou intervir em português para melhor expressar a minha mensagem. Eu intervenho neste painel na qualidade do presidente da Comissão Nacional de Direitos Humanos. Nós acompanhamos um incidente que aconteceu no dia 14, segunda-feira, apenas na terça-feira. E para nós foi uma triste notícia, porque estamos a falar de um ativista muito conhecido no nosso país. O professor Nuvunga, como se disse, é ativista de direitos humanos desde muito tempo, e é conhecido ao nível nacional e internacional. E também ele, neste momento, está, portanto, a dirigir uma organização muito influente na área de direitos humanos, que é, portanto, o Centro para a Democracia e Desenvolvimento. E, recentemente, também está a coordenar a Rede Nacional dos Defensores de Direitos Humanos, para além de ser, portanto, também um dos responsáveis do network regional. Portanto, para nós é uma pessoa crucial, do ponto de vista de proteção e promoção de direitos humanos no nosso país. Então, em primeiro lugar, queria, em nome da Comissão Nacional de Direitos Humanos, em meu nome, manifestarmos a nossa solidariedade, tanto a professor Nuvunga, também a sua família, que na segunda-feira, logo cedo, ficou muito inseguro. E as organizações também que representam, manifestamos a nossa grande solidariedade e, ao mesmo tempo, apoio para que continue a lutar nesta corrente a favor dos direitos humanos em Moçambique. Em segundo lugar, a Comissão Nacional de Direitos Humanos está muito preocupada, porque estamos a falar uma limitação muito séria do espaço cívico em Moçambique. Nós temos reportado várias vezes de que o espaço cívico no nosso país está cada vez mais limitado. E estas ameaças que acontecem limitam ainda mais esse espaço. Por quê? Porque a partir de agora, muitos ativistas de direitos humanos vão começar a ter muito medo por causa da ameaça ou das ameaças que têm acontecido nos últimos tempos. Esta é uma preocupação muito grande para nós. E a rede que recentemente foi criada em Moçambique foi criada tendo em conta este aspecto concreto, que é o aspecto de medo, portanto, a questão do medo, a questão de insegurança para aqueles que todos os dias se levantam para fazer-se ouvir em prol dos direitos humanos em Moçambique. E a Comissão também é uma dessas vozes. Portanto, nós estamos preocupados com esta questão. Estamos preocupados também porque as autoridades policiais não têm trazido resultados concretos em termos de investigação, em termos de julgamento, em termos de responsabilização das pessoas que cometem esse tipo de crimes, que violam os direitos humanos, que violam os direitos fundamentais. Como dizia o professor Nuvunga, não é a primeira vez que isso aconteceu, tanto esta ameaça, e também não é o primeiro ativista, o professor Nuvunga, que está a sofrer esse tipo de ameaça. Temos uma lista muito grande de ativistas, alguns mortos, outros ainda sobreviventes, que sofreram esse tipo de ataque. E para nós é uma grande preocupação como organização que promove e protege os direitos humanos em Moçambique, uma organização do Estado que visa garantir os direitos fundamentais do cidadão. Por isso, gostaríamos de aproveitar esta oportunidade para, mais uma vez, apelar e exigir das autoridades policiais, do setor de justiça em Moçambique, para que façam o trabalho que devem fazer. Primeiro, terminar com as investigações já começadas. Isso é uma forma de desencorajar aqueles que ainda querem atuar no sentido contrário aos direitos e valores de direitos humanos. Responsabilizar, encontrar e julgar as pessoas que cometem esse tipo de crimes, para que a sociedade saiba de que em Moçambique não é um lugar onde cada organização, cada grupo deve ameaçar os outros. Aliás, como sabemos, da nossa Constituição, de outras leis importantes que nós assinamos, o Estado é garante da segurança, é garante dos direitos humanos. É o Estado que deve criar condições para que nenhum cidadão, nenhum ativista seja ameaçado, para que os seus direitos não sejam violados. Então, aqui queremos, mais uma vez, exigir das autoridades do Estado, e especialmente a Polícia da República de Moçambique, os serviços de investigação, a Procuradoria da República, os tribunais, para que eles façam o seu trabalho, para que as investigações de anteriores casos, e este caso, portanto, tenham resultados plausíveis. Só assim vamos devolver a tranquilidade ao nosso povo, vamos devolver o espaço para a nossa educação cívica, para o nosso trabalho cívico, e assim a Comissão Nacional de Direitos Humanos terá a sua relevância na sociedade moçambicana. Portanto, como hoje não é dia para discursos longos, queria mais uma vez apelar a todas as organizações aqui presentes e aquelas que não estão, e aos amigos da região que estão aqui muito fortes neste encontro, para que não desanimemos. A luta pelos direitos humanos é uma constante. Sabemos do nosso risco, sabemos das nossas dificuldades, mas o grande mal seria, através desses acontecimentos, recuarmos. Não podemos recuar, mas sim, esses sinais devem servir de alerta de que precisamos de lutar ainda mais, precisamos da nossa rede mais forte e precisamos mais coesão para que a causa de direitos humanos em Moçambique seja uma realidade. Muito bom dia a todos e, mais uma vez, Muita força, professor Nuvunga, estamos juntos. Obrigado.
Thank you very much, Dr. Betoni, for those words of solidarity and appeal. I'll move swiftly to Arnold Tsunga, if he has time, as I'm aware he has another commitment after this, the chairperson of the Southern Defenders. Arnold, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, moderator. And I appreciate the fact that you quickly organized this solidarity platform. For my dear friend, Professor Nuvunga, you need to stay strong. We need you, and we totally appreciate the work that you do. Professor Nuvunga, for those who may not know, is also the vice chairperson of the Southern Africa Human Rights Defenders Network, a leader of civil society in Southern Africa. And we totally acknowledge his role as a leader in the global movement of the human rights defenders community. I also want to thank the chairperson of the Mozambique Human Rights Commission, Louis Bitton, for coming to this meeting and expressing his solidarity with Professor Nuvunga, which we take as a serious commitment on the part of the Mozambique Human Rights Commission to protect human rights defenders and to strengthen the role that the Human Rights Commission can play in strengthening the role of human rights defenders in accordance with the Marrakesh Declaration, where the human rights commissions, the national human rights institutions undertook to work very closely in terms of protecting the space for human rights defenders. And we as Southern Defenders have a commitment to continue working with the Mozambique Human Rights Commission to strengthen the work of the commission itself, but also the human rights defenders community. And we have been worried as a network about the impunity for attacks on human rights defenders in Mozambique. We get worried because we feel that the authorities can do more than what they have done so far. And we actually look forward to engaging with the authorities to discuss our best to protect human rights defenders in Mozambique, and may soon be arranging a fact-finding mission that will then meet with the higher authorities. The fact that this attack, as Professor Nuvunga said, happened so close to the police station is worrying, given that there's a climate of impunity. And we also have a history of police actors or people who have acted with the acquiescence of some lead elements within the police attacking human rights defenders with impunity. The case of Matavele, which happened in Gaza in October 2019, where he was gunned down in open daylight. And the fact that in that case, the police elements were implicated, including the use of equipment from the Mozambican police force. I think that in itself really makes us get worried when an attack or a threat as significant as happened in this case was very, very close to the police station. And Professor Nuvunga says some of the people who were potentially people of interest and close to the scene actually ran not away from the police station, but in the direction of the police station. And so we really express our solidarity with Professor Nuvunga, and we undertake to do anything that he needs for us to be able to increase the level of protection that he requires. But we also demand that the police force, the authorities, carry out an open, transparent investigation of this case, and ensure that the perpetrators are brought to justice, so that the climate of impunity for attacks on human rights defenders is dealt with. So thank you very much, moderator. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Arnold, and for emphasizing the need for an investigation and accountability for these attacks against Professor Nuvunga. I'll now hand over to Colette Letlojane, who is the Executive Director of the Human Rights Institute for South Africa. Colette, over to you.
Good morning, Madam Moderator, Tiseke Kasamba, Kasambala. I would like to recognize the chairperson of Southern Africa Human Rights Defenders, Mr. Arnold Tsunga, and also a professor himself, national human rights institutions in Mozambique, and all the important figures that have joined us today at a very important moment that we are observing. We are really shocked by the news, the information we've received of the threats of life of the very prominent human rights defenders, our brother in Mozambique, who has taken the fort for some years now. He's been consistent after so much silence in Mozambique from really voices of human rights defenders speaking out against impunity, speaking against violations of human rights and the attack of the independence of the judiciary in Mozambique. And today is a very important day because it coincides with the SADC summit, which is currently taking place today and tomorrow, in DRC. We are wondering whether these processes really have been, making serious impact on the lives of the citizens in Southern Africa, especially where they have even recognized that we are so important that we are making, we are contributing to the agenda of member states, and also in the process of regional integration. We are concerned that the fact that they have put together very progressive laws that member states can, enact those provisions in their laws to ensure that human rights is respected across the region and across their countries. None of the countries that violate these rights are held accountable. So we are really grateful that this meeting will send a clear message to member states, calling for support and solidarity as member states and listening to the voices of the people in Southern Africa, that impunity and persecutions of human rights defenders that have been recognized at international level by the UN Declaration of Human Rights Defenders, and also recognized by the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, which is the apex human rights body in the continent, that their rights, their role is very, very phenomenal, that what a professor is doing in Mozambique is not in contravention of any laws or policies, even of the AU or of the UN. We are calling as well that Resolution 273, which the Commission has adopted to end reprisals, abductions, harassment, and persecutions of human rights defenders, that Mozambique develop a law that will make environments very enabling, safe and free for persons that are cooperating with regional bodies and international human rights bodies. It is also not long ago when we had the country rapporteur, Commissioner Manuela, who was in Mozambique engaging with the civil society, with human rights defenders and member states officials, educating them about strengthening the systems of human rights. We are very concerned that all this must not go vain. We are calling for all these important meetings that have taken place in Mozambique by Professor himself with his team, by other supporters, the Southern Africa Human Rights Defenders Network, that they should not be seen as subversive. They should not be seen as something which is in conflict, but they should be seen as something that is positive. It's strengthening the judiciary, the parliamentary bodies, the structures in government, and law enforcement. We are calling the government to really, without any waste of time, to immediately investigate all those threats that are really leveled at Professor, Novunga and his life, if he's threatened, it means me and you, anyone who's a human rights defender is a threat. The threat directed to him is directed to me and you, who is a human rights defender. So we are together in this, and we are bringing this to the chairperson of the African Commission, who's also the special rapporteur on human rights defenders, who is a focal point on reprisals, that we need to document this. This must be included in his activity report. It needs to be read in the open session of the African Commission, which is coming in November, December, that Mozambique must not be left, allowed to continue this, because he says this has been repeated. We don't know what will be the next action that will be taken. So we are all calling all human rights defenders, the statement that has been sent to be circulated countrywide, globally, all over the world, so that solidarity is pledged and these acts are ended. I thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Colette, and also for setting out the laws, norms, and standards that actually exist and provide for the protection of human rights defenders, such as Professor Nuvunga and those of us here in the room. And yet these norms and standards are rarely, if anything, adhered to by our governments. And also thanks for the reminder that as we speak, we have the Southern Africa Development Community SADC Summit taking place in Kinshasa over the next 2 days. I would now like to open it up to participants for any key interventions, comments, or questions. Before you make your intervention, make sure that you introduce yourself and your affiliation, and please make these comments brief so that we have enough time for discussion. A reminder once again to speak in whichever language you choose, of Portuguese and English, as translation services are available. Please use the raise hand function if you want to make an intervention. But whilst we wait, Professor Nuvunga, I would like to ask you, I think we heard from the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission about the general context for human rights defenders in Mozambique. What is your assessment? If someone as prominent as you can come under threat and attack, what else? What is the situation of others who are seeking to defend this space?
Thank you. I think I'm being encouraged now to speak in Portuguese. A situação dos defensores de direitos humanos em Moçambique é muito preocupante. Os defensores vivem ameaças constantes por atores estatais e não estatais e de variedíssimas maneiras. Como o chairperson Tsunga fez referência, estamos agora com um governo que saiu de eleições onde se assassinou um defensor de direitos humanos. Sim. Então, este é o contexto, mas como já disse, todas as investigações feitas pelas autoridades policiais não trazem resultados concretos sobre o que aconteceu com os vários defensores. O espaço cívico está em constante fechamento. Se está a passar leis draconianas direcionadas a defensores de direitos humanos. E isto é preocupante. Os defensores são ameaçados constantemente por cenários de sequestros que são constantes, não só em Maputo, em todo o país. A imprensa, a comunicação social é constantemente ameaçada, Então, enquanto essas ameaças foram dirigidas a mim como pessoa, são uma ameaça, mas como disse, não nos vão deter. Elas, no geral, são orientadas para a comunidade de defensores de direitos humanos, que se pretendem silenciá-los, que se pretende abafá-los, que se pretende que eles fiquem em silêncio perante situações de injustiças, situações de impunidade, situação de violações constantes de direitos humanos pelas autoridades. E, como indiquei, nós como ativistas vamos continuar, apesar dessas ameaças, vamos continuar com o nosso trabalho, vamos continuar firmes a denunciar as injustiças, a denunciar as ameaças e a lutar para que as comunidades possam ter acesso à justiça e possam proteger as suas terras, possam proteger o seu direito a participar em processos de governação no nosso país. Porque o trabalho que nós fazemos aprofunda o Estado de Direito Democrático, contribui para o fortalecimento do Estado de Direito Democrático e para a realização dos direitos humanos em Moçambique. Obrigado, Tseki.
Thank you, Professor Nuvunga. Are there any interventions? Please use the raise hand function. You can speak in either Portuguese or English. I am failing to see the raise hand function. Is Lucia Silveira here? Lucia Silveira, the Executive Director of the Angola Human Rights Defenders Network?
Hi, Tseki. No, she's struggling to log in.
Okay, all right. So perhaps we can do another round of interventions. I was very interested in Colette, because Colette had a number of clear recommendations in terms of how we can pursue justice for the attacks against Professor Nuvunga, both at a local, national, and a regional level. Colette, would you like to expand a little bit in terms of what do we do now that these threats have been placed against Professor Nuvunga? What are the key protection mechanisms? You mentioned the African Commission. Are there other protection mechanisms that we can take advantage of as human rights defenders?
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. I think we've got a number of those. The one that we have not been utilized effectively, I think, is this one within the SADC. It's about time that we do something, because, you know, the African Commission as a apex human rights body with those protective mechanisms is quite far away, and accessing the commission has got its own complications. So I can imagine that here at ground level, at home within the SADC, we really need to come up with a concrete strategy to make the environment enabling, to make some gains in the process. Look at the SADC Treaty, for example. It speaks about a member state committing to promoting human rights, rule of law, you know, all those fundamental values that we all have at on the international treaties. However, how are member state, who is monitoring, who is ensuring that member states are complying or they are adhering or implementing. We do not have a human rights body. You know, the Secretariat at Botswana is just, you know, rich in fulfilling or implementing political issues. You know, like the SADC, it remains as a political organ only. It refuses to recognize that it incorporates civil political rights, not alone, but to coexist with human rights, economic, social rights, and so forth. Now, for it to succeed in ensuring that there's really prevalence of human rights in the region, they need to start by really setting a body, a human rights body in the SADC region. So we need to begin, even if, you know, this takes years, at least we will be having an opportunity to weigh, to evaluate progress that we are making. Currently, it's really confusing to even think about access, how each member state is left on its discretion, how it understood what does Article 23 mean. For example, who has accreditation, who is able to enter the meetings and speak and share the, you know, issues on the agenda of member state. So I think that let us think about really having a comprehensive strategy that is not short-lived, that is not looking at all the difficulties surrounding us, because it is very difficult. We do not have even a SADC tribunal where Professor and his you know, team that and all of us who are facing all these reprisals could be approaching after exhausting local remedies at national level. We do not even have that, you know, or even to interpret, you know, to assist member states to understand, to go deeper in understanding.
Please mute your mics.
In understanding some of the, you know, the processes that they need to be unfolding, what the SADC treaty requires. You cannot have a situation where member states operate in such a manner that is so unaccountable. We can continue advocating for Mozambique to also be a state party, you know, to be bound by the African Court on Human and People's Rights, and, you know, ensuring that citizens have got direct access. These are very long and difficult processes, but we cannot shy away from them. We need to begin somewhere so that we make inroads. As the African Commission, we do have the country rapporteur who is not far. She is based in Mozambique. She should be the first point of contact for us. Everything that is affecting human rights defenders, regarding enforcement or enjoyment of all the rights that are enshrined or guaranteed in the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, including the protocol on the rights of women in Africa. She is the person, you know, to be contacted. We need to be engaging with her. We need to really seeking her you know, her involvement in this whole process, you know, to be condemning, to be issuing a statement. We want her to issue a statement condemning all what is happening currently in Mozambique. And we also need to get the special rapporteur on reprisals. He is documenting all this kind of reprisals. This needs to be in the special rapporteur's report. We should not miss that opportunity. We should be, you know, preparing for that. It needs to be included in the report of the special rapporteur on reprisals. So the protective mechanisms will be effective if we, the citizens, human rights defenders, all of us here, you know, continue working together as a collective, raising our voices. And we should also not leave out the UN mechanism as well. We do have the special rapporteur on human rights defenders there, who is also dealing with all kinds of problems that we are facing. They are also in support of laws. We need to have laws. We shouldn't be seeing governments paying only lip service to saying that they recognize our significance just by mouth. We want
Recording in progress.
actions with laws and educations, popularization of these mechanisms and be translated. You know, Mozambique as a country which is a monist state, you know, we understand that it is a country that when it ratifies, the treaties automatically becomes law. That was my understanding. I stand to be corrected. Now, if Mozambique, you know, is that kind of a government that automatically, you know, become not only a state party, but laws automatically are enshrined out of the treaty that they have ratified, we should be holding Mozambique accountable that they have breached. And we should find a way of seeking justice now. We can still use even the communication procedure, but now we know that the process is still at local level. We need to see how we fast track it, and we take it to all these levels. From SADC, really, let us do something. We shouldn't lose focus on what we need to do. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Colette, for that. I now see the conversation is warming up. I recognize a few hands, but first of all, I would like to welcome Lucia to give us a few words of solidarity. As I said, Lucia is the Executive Director of the Angola Human Rights Defenders Network, KUKASEKA. Lucia, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Tiseke. Thank you, everybody, for this. Is with a huge concern that we acknowledge the situation in Mozambique with Professor Nuvunga, and it worries us. Just last week, we had a human rights defender security training here in Angola, and we discussed all the situation going on around the region regarding the situation of defenders in the region. I've sent the statement we made to Commissioner Teresa Manuela, just for her to acknowledge the situation and also to take action, because she is the special rapporteur on reprisal, and she should be the first one doing that. I'm supposed to talk to her after this meeting to see how she can
ver como é que ela pode tomar ação. Eu sugiro que enviemos uma carta a ela para garantir que
the action that should be taken close to the African Commission and even to the UN. And we have the next session in October, the public sessions, and we should be able to report, to make statements, to make side events, to make sure that defenders are heard in the situation. We cannot keep going on this way. It's not possible. The few people that we have that are really concerned about the situation of the region should be protected, and it's not happening. So we should raise our voices to support them. So I stand in support of Professor Nuvunga. Thank you, Chiseke.
Thank you very much, Lucia, for those brief but powerful words. I can see Lloyd Couvert's hand raised. Lloyd, please make your intervention, introduce yourself and the organization you represent.
Very good morning to you. Thank you so much, moderator, for giving me the opportunity. My name is Lloyd Couvert. I'm Assistant Director at the Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria. I just also wanted to send a message of solidarity to Prof Nuvunga for the threats that he is facing. It is really of concern that this is not the first time, and also the fact that we know that there are some human rights defenders that have been killed actually in Mozambique, and so it's worrying when one receives such threats. And we call upon the government of Mozambique to ensure that nothing happens to Professor Nuvunga, and that the perpetrators are brought to book. And I also just want to concur with recommendations by Colette, and I just also wanted to add one more I noticed that Mozambique is a member of the Commonwealth. Now, the Commonwealth works very quietly as a political body, but it is very effective if one reaches out to it. So my recommendation is writing a letter to the Commonwealth, alerting the Commonwealth of what is happening in Mozambique, and that the Commonwealth must take the government of Mozambique to task and really call upon them to ensure that human rights defenders in Mozambique are protected, especially in the context of the ongoing conflict. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. That is my recommendation.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. I would like to also call on Custodio Duma for his intervention. Custodio. Custodio, are you there? It seems he's not here. Ladies and gentlemen, are there any other interventions from the floor? I think we have already received a raft of very strong recommendations that I'm sure the Mozambique Human Rights Defenders Network and Southern Defenders are taking note of. You heard mention of a statement that was written in solidarity by at least 30 organizations. Please circulate that widely. I see Danilo Mairoche. Please go ahead, introduce yourself and your organization first. You are muted.
Bom dia. Bom dia a todos. Meu nome é Danilo Mairoce e sou o diretor executivo da PLASOC. PLASOC é a plataforma da sociedade civil da província de Manica. E também quero me solidarizar com o professor NUVUNGA sobre o que aconteceu. É mesmo de lamentar bastante sobre esses episódios recorrentes em Moçambique. Nós, na província de Manica, também estamos muito preocupados, porque também temos passado essas situações. Houve no passado alguns ativistas que tiveram que ser resgatados pela sua participação ativa, até alguns jornalistas. Mas uma grande recomendação aqui em Moçambique que eu posso dizer: as organizações da sociedade civil devem se unir, devem criar sinergias, devem trabalhar juntas para que não sejam indicadas algumas pessoas serem ameaçadas ou sejam eliminadas, para poder silenciar a voz da sociedade civil, porque a sociedade civil, os atores, os grandes defensores, têm um grande papel no desenvolvimento, na colocação de grandes sugestões sobre o desenvolvimento deste país. É isso, pessoalmente, que incomoda, se calhar, algumas pessoas ao nível deste país, sobre principalmente os recursos deste país, sobre qual o destino deste país. Então, há pessoas que não querem ouvir alternativas, não querem ouvir essas propostas, não querem, quer dizer, ver as pessoas muito bem engajadas a participar ativamente no processo de governação ou desenvolvimento deste país. Mas o que eu estou a dizer é que temos muitas organizações da sociedade civil em Moçambique, mas se calhar falta esta comunicação entre nós para podermos criar sinergias. Um dia, se a maior parte das organizações trabalharem juntas e termos um foco de que, afinal de contas, o nosso grande papel é equilibrar o desenvolvimento deste país, participando ativamente no desenvolvimento político e social, e se calhar darmos a nossa palavra termos uma voz apenas, uma força em Moçambique. E, sinceramente, que as pessoas que andam a ameaçar os grandes defensores vão diminuir ou um dia vão parar. Então, penso que os políticos também precisam se esconder e usar essas ameaças de forma silenciosa ou usando muitas outras formas para que a voz dos grandes defensores não possa sair. É neste momento que eu queria colocar. Muito obrigado, estamos juntos, não podemos desistir neste grande papel que nós temos em Moçambique, e em África e em todo o mundo. Obrigado.
Sorry about that. I think my internet cut off. Danilo, are you done?
Sim.
Thank you.
Sim, já terminei.
Please mute your mics, colleagues.
Já terminei, sim.
I'll now call upon Marta to make her intervention in the last 5 minutes or so that we have.
Bom dia a todos. Sim. Bom dia a todos e a todas. Eu sou Marta Licuco, sou da Associação Jumla Cabo Delgado. Primeiro, solidarizo com o professor, dizer que essa situação, de fato, alguma coisa deve ser feita. E essa ameaça que o professor sofreu não é só para o professor. Vamos dizer que é uma arma que está sendo usada para intimidar a todos os defensores dos direitos humanos. E isso nós não podemos admitir. Não é aceitável num país que se diz que é democrático e é um Estado de Direito. Portanto, e não só, mas também para acrescentar que a SADC, como a Alice disse, alguma coisa tem de fazer. Porque a SADC, é verdade que temos as Nações Unidas, mas a SADC, como um órgão regional, alguma coisa deve fazer, alguma coisa, algum instrumento deve criar para que possa monitorar de facto e penalizar os países membros da SADC que não cumprem com aquilo que é prescrito, que é a defesa dos direitos humanos. A intimidação não pode continuar, e não pode continuar mesmo, e deve-se abrir o espaço cívico, porque nós, neste momento, estaríamos a manifestar o cívico está fechado. Então, é isso que eu queria dizer e enfatizar, de fato, para que nós possamos nos unir. E nós temos que, hoje é o professor, amanhã sou eu e amanhã é o outro defensor. Então, nós temos que nos unir e usar esta ameaça ao professor como força para nós podermos avançar. Muito obrigada.
Thank you so much. And I think that is a wonderful note on which to end this, a very important note. A threat against the professor is a threat against all human rights defenders in Mozambique. It is also a threat against all human rights defenders, whether it's in Southern Africa, across the continent, or globally. We need to speak with one voice. We need to unite. What has been heartening about this briefing has been the numbers of interventions that are speaking in support and in solidarity of the professor. And that gives me some hope that all is not lost, that if we bring our voices together and we are vocal about the issues that we see, we are vocal about keeping the environment for civic activism and human rights defense open, that we will see some impact. we will ensure that our leaders are held to account and held responsible for the safety of not only human rights defenders, but other activists and critics in the region. So on that note, let me thank Professor Nuvunga for bravely coming out today and speaking about his situation. Let me thank the Mozambique Human Rights Defenders Network for organizing this jointly with Southern Defenders. Let me thank all the panelists and all the participants that took the time to be here today in support of Professor Nuvunga. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Okay, thank you very much, Siseke, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, Tiseke. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Recording